Welcome back everyone. In today's video, I will discuss about some of the tricks and tips that you can apply when you are writing code in Python. So today we are discussing 6 tips that you can apply in Python. Maybe you already know some of these tips, but I just want to share so that it will help you if you are new in Python. First of all, you need to know about PEP 8. PEP 8 is the official style guide for Python code. It basically tells you things like how to name your variable, how to name your functions, classes, and what are the best practices that you need to follow. So it's a standard guide that every Python programmer should follow. So it's always better to follow PEP 8 standards. Whenever you write code, keep in mind that it should be easy to understand and readable. Tip number 1 is use a ternary operator. This is a sample code that uses if and else condition. In the if condition, it checks for x mod 2. If the condition true, then it assigns true value to E7 variable. Else, it assigns false to E7 variable. This code can be replaced by ternary operator. So this 4-line code can be replaced by a single line using ternary operator. So in this code, whenever x mod 2 is 0, then E7 variable set to true, otherwise it set to false. Basically it is the same logic but in a single line. Here is another example. Here the condition checks whether the age is greater than or equal to 18. If the condition satisfies, it will assign the string adult to the variable status, else the string minor. So that's how ternary operator works. Next one is context manager. So what is context manager? A context manager in Python is an object that is used to manage resources such as opening and closing files, acquiring and releasing logs, and connecting and disconnecting from databases within a specific context. The with statement is typically used to write the context managers. So when should we use context manager? This code actually reads a text file and print the content and closing the file. The code looks like a clean code, but there is no guarantee that it will be closed properly. If an exception occurs during the execution of file.read or print content. So these may cause issues. We can avoid these issues by using context manager. The above code can be written using context manager using with statement. In this code, the file is opened using a context manager using with statement, which automatically closes the file after the block of code is executed. This approach is more concise and readable and ensure proper resource management. Context manager can be used in situations where you need to manage resources. So it can be file handling such as reading, writing or appending data, database connections, network connections like socket connection, concurrent and locking when dealing with concurrent access to shared resources. So you can use context manager in these cases. Next tip is use enumerate function for iterating with index. Whenever we need to iterate over a list or array and we want to use or print the index as well, then sometimes we write like this. We initialize the index variable to 0, then iterate over the list, then manually increment the index. This is not a better approach. We can use enumerate function for this purpose. The enumerate returns pair of index item for each element, where index is the index of the current item and item is the value of the current item. There is also an argument called start, where you can provide the starting point of the index. By default it is 0, but you can specify the other starting point like 1, 2 or other values. So enumerate can be used to iterate list with index. Next one is zip function. Use zip to iterate over multiple lists. Let's say you have 2 lists and you need to iterate through these 2 lists at once. Here is a sample code that uses 2 lists at the same time. In this code, we manually calculate the length of the shortest list to avoid index out of range error. Then use for loop to access elements from both lists using the same index. We can write this code in a better way using zip function. So zip function can help to iterate 2 lists at the same time. Next one is list comprehensions. Let's say we need to create a list that contains squared numbers from 0 to 9. Using a for loop, we can write like this, where it iterates from 0 to 9 and calculate the square of the current number and appending to the list. This code can be replaced using list comprehension. It will be like this. In a single line of code, we can get the list of squared numbers using the list comprehension. So use list comprehension when you need to create a list of iteratable items, or if you want to perform filtering in a list or similar task. Last one is unpacking. This is the common way to unpack elements from a list. So this will assign each element to an individual variable. Here it's A, B, C, D, E. So each elements 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 will be assigned to variable A, B, C, D, E respectively. If we print that variable, it contains corresponding value. If you want to ignore some of the items from unpacking, we can use the symbol underscore. For example, if we need to ignore the third element, we can add underscore in the third variable position. An element in that position will be ignored. If you want to assign 1 and 2 to the variable A and B and rest of the items into another variable called rest, then we can use asterisk sign just before that variable so that all the rest of the item will be assigned to that variable. So here the variable rest contains 3, 4 and 5. Here the output will be like this. Earlier we seen how to ignore a particular item in the list using underscore sign. So if you want to unpack only few items and if you need to ignore all the rest of the items, then we can use asterisk sign and underscore sign. So the code will be like this. The syntax asterisk underscore is used to ignore all the rest of the items in the list. So this way you can use unpacking techniques according to your requirement. So these are the tips that I want to share in today's video. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video.